Okay, so listen. Remember when I told y'all about Blake Lively asking Justin Baldoni to pay her for reputational damages that have been caused due to those mean girl comments fans have been making on social media? Well, her entire plan has just flopped. She's literally melting down in court, as our boy Justin is demanding that her net worth get exposed in front of everyone. Okay, so just to quickly catch you up if you missed the last video, Blake Lively has been claiming he ran some kind of smear campaign against her, and he's been saying that's complete nonsense, and it was Blake who actually tried to ruin his reputation. It's been a whole thing, which just keeps getting more messy each day. A few months ago, both sides finally showed up in the U.S. District Courthouse in Manhattan. The court had ordered a settlement conference, which means a judge told them to sit down and figure out if they could possibly find some way to settle this matter without dragging it out in front of the entire world. Both Blake and Justin showed up. But here's the thing, they refused to interact with each other at all. Like, zero eye contact, zero communication, nothing. The court basically put them in 2 different rooms and said, okay, we'll try to make this work. However, by the end of that 6-hour session, the talks had completely fallen apart. No deal was made. The mediation was declared a total failure, and the anger that had ruined the movie set carried right into that courthouse. With settlement talks completely off, Justin Baldoni's lawyers basically said, okay, if we're not going to settle this thing quietly, then we're going to come at you with everything we've got, and they weren't kidding. They filed legal papers demanding that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds expose their total net worth and all their private financial records to the jury during the trial. Now think about that for a second. These 2 people are worth an estimated $400 million combined. That's an insane amount of money. And Justin wasn't just doing this to increase his aura. His legal team actually argued that this massive wealth had to be shown to the jury because it was directly relevant to the case. And the thing is, when you look at the numbers, you can see why his team wanted this information out there so badly. A $400 million fortune is not exactly the profile of someone who's a helpless victim getting affected by a big bad director with a PR team. That's the profile of someone who has insane amounts of power, connections, and resources at their disposal. The second Blake Lively's team saw this demand, her lawyers filed a motion trying to block this from happening. They were begging the judge to keep her money a secret from the jury. Well, according to them, if regular people on a jury saw how truly wealthy she and her husband were, it would create a heavy bias against them. They were terrified that normal, everyday people would look at a $400 million bank account and think that her complaints were just the whining of spoiled, ultra-rich Hollywood stars who had no real problem. Her team basically admitted, without actually coming out and saying it directly, that they knew a jury of regular people was not going to feel sorry for a billionaire actress claiming she was some kind of victim. They knew that if the people saw how much money she had sitting around, all sympathy would evaporate completely. And honestly, they're probably right about that. It's really hard to play the victim card when you're worth nearly $500 million. But here's the thing that makes this move absolutely genius from Justin Baldoni's legal team. They had this strong reason for demanding this exposure, and it basically created a trap that Blake almost couldn't get out of. She opened the door to her own bank accounts when she claimed that Justin ruined her businesses and demanded $161 million in damages from him. She was pointing fingers at him, saying he destroyed her career and her companies, and she wanted nearly $200 million in compensation for all the money she actually lost. But here's the problem. To actually get that $161 million, she had to list exactly how she lost it. She had to prove that she had wealth before this all went down, and then prove that she lost wealth after it happened. She couldn't just walk into court, point at a piece of paper saying she lost $161 million, and expect the judge and jury to just believe her without any actual proof. So that meant Justin Baldoni had every legal right to demand to see her tax returns, her company's profit sheets, her private bank statements, all of it. And if she refused to show it, she couldn't prove her $161 million claim. But if she did show it, the jury was going to see exactly how rich she really was, which completely destroyed her victim narrative. It was honestly a perfect catch. She literally could not win either way. Now let me break down exactly what she is claiming here, because these numbers are absolutely wild. In those unsealed court papers, she's officially claiming she lost an unbelievable $161.2 million in damages because of Baldoni's alleged smear campaign against her. Let me say that again. $161.2 million. She's not just asking for an apology. She's not just asking for some symbolic victory. She wants cold hard cash, and she wants a lot of it. And if that's not crazy enough, her lawyers were planning to ask for 3 times that amount in extra punishment money, which means the final bill could push all the way to nearly $500 million. Now let me show you exactly where she says all that money went. She claimed about $56.2 million in past and future earning from acting jobs, speaking events, and big brand deals that dropped her after the controversy started. So she's saying she was going to make all this money from movies and endorsements, but companies pulled out because of the bad press, and she wants Justin to pay for all of that. Then she claimed $71 million in lost business profits, specifically from her Blake Brown hair products and her Betty Buzz and Betty Boo's drink lines. But her companies that she owns and operates lost millions of dollars because people stopped buying her stuff after the whole thing went public. And then she claimed another $34 million in general reputational harm, basically saying her name and public image got so damaged by all the bad press and online hate that she deserves extra money just for that. Add all that up, and you've got $161.2 million that she's saying Justin Baldoni owes her for basically ruining her entire life. But Baldoni's legal team was not having any of this. They argued that if she's going to claim her Betty Buzz drink company lost millions of dollars, then he absolutely has the right to see the company's tax return, profit sheet, and private bank statements to verify those numbers. Same thing with her acting career. If she's going to say she lost movie deals, then he has the right to see her past paychecks to prove she ever actually made that kind of money in the first place. And we all know, Justin wasn't just going after Blake Lively's money, he was dragging Ryan Reynolds' money into this too. His legal team was arguing that Blake and Ryan basically make their money together as a joint operation and plan their careers together. They pointed out that she usually turns down acting jobs whenever they clash with Ryan Reynolds' schedule because he makes way more money per movie than she does. So Justin Baldoni's argument was that any drop in her acting income might not actually be because he ruined her career. It might just be because she decided to stay home while her husband went off to make his million. And that's a completely different situation than someone sabotaging her from the outside. This whole financial exposure thing was really starting to look like it was going to expose a lot more than just bank account. It was going to expose exactly how these two ultra-rich celebrities actually operate their whole lives as a business partnership first and a marriage second. The money part is just the beginning, because when May 18th rolls around, we're going to find out exactly how badly Blake Lively behaved with the actual studio executives who were paying the bills for this whole. And here's the crazy part. While she's been out there trying to blame Justin's terrible public image, the highest bosses in Hollywood have been blaming her the entire time. So here's what really happened on that movie set, and trust, it's a lot worse than any saying in public. Blake Lively decided she wanted total control over It Ends With Us. Things got really really fast. Justin Baldoni had bought the rights to the book years before, set up the entire project from scratch. He was the director. This babe put in years of work before anyone else got involved. But crew members who were there have said that Blake Lively looked at how nice and collaborative Justin Baldoni was, and she completely mistook his kindness for weakness. She decided that if he wasn't gonna fight her on everything, then she was just gonna take his movie away from him piece by piece. She started bringing in her husband, Ryan Reynolds, to rewrite scenes without telling anyone. She demanded access to the editing room, which is honestly super rare for an actor to even ask for. When people pushed back even a little bit, she went crazy. And I mean crazy in the truest sense of the word, because Blake wrote up this strict 17-point list of production demands and sent it directly to the studio executives. She used her fame as an absolute weapon. She told the studio she had legal control over her own face and name, and if they put Justin Baldoni's name next to hers in the movie trailers, she would legally block them from releasing any marketing materials at all. She basically held this entire multi-million-dollar movie hostage until they agreed to hide the director's name from promotional materials. Can you even imagine doing that? Holding a movie hostage because you didn't want the director to get credit for his own work? That's insane behavior, and the studio knew it, but they also couldn't afford to lose her at that point. This whole power play caused tense anger at Sony Pictures, and the guy who had to deal with all of Blake Lively's threats and ultimatums was Sanford Panich, who's the powerful president of the Sony Motion Pictures Group. Even though the movie ended up making a massive $347 million worldwide and was technically a huge financial success, Panich was absolutely disgusted by how Blake handled herself throughout the entire process. And in August 2024, right after the movie crossed the $300 million mark, he sent a private email to his fellow executives that honestly might be the most damaging piece of evidence in this entire case. This is coming from the actual president of the studio that made her movie and paid her millions of dollars. That's not some random person on the internet. That's the guy who signs her paychecks. And it gets even worse. Panich was so stunned by how badly she handled the press tour and her fights with the crew that he called her, quote, epic level stupid in writing. He actually predicted that because she was so toxic to work with, she would probably never work again, or not for a while anyway. These Sony emails are honestly the most dangerous piece of evidence against Blake Lively's entire case. Her whole lawsuit demands $161 million years because she claims Justin ruined her career with some kind of campaign. But these emails prove that the actual people who hire Hollywood actors had already decided she was someone who ruined her own career by being completely impossible to work with. The jury is going to see that her so-called career destruction wasn't caused by some fake Reddit bot campaign, like she's claiming. It was caused by the fact that she made the most powerful people in the movie business absolutely angry through her own behavior. Alright, so now let's talk about the whole public image collapse, because that's really what Blake Lively is trying to get $161 million for. She's saying Justin Baldoni's PR team destroyed her reputation, and she wants him to pay for all the damage. However, data from something called Parrot Analytics, which is a company that measures how much the public likes a celebrity, showed a shocking 71-point drop in her public favor during the summer of 2024. That's a massive fall from grace, and her legal team jumped on this number, claiming this drop was not organic. They said it was a coordinated paid attack by Justin Baldoni's public relations team designed specifically to destroy her. Her lawsuit actually named specific crisis PR experts named Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel, and she claimed Justin paid them somewhere between $75,000 and $175,000 to launch what they called a social manipulation campaign against her. Now Blake accused these PR agents of something called astroturfing, which is basically creating hundreds of fake robotic accounts on sites like Reddit and TikTok to post bad things about her and make it look like a real grassroots movement of angry fans. She claimed these paid PR agents flooded the internet with over 100 million hits calling her a mean girl and a bully, all through online campaigns designed to make regular people think everyone disliked her. Justin Baldoni's defense called this entire accusation completely ridiculous. They argued that the 71-point drop was entirely organic, which means real actual people by themselves decided they hated her because of her own choices, not because some PR team paid to make it happen. And honestly, when you look at what she actually did during that press tour, you can see why normal people turned against her so hard. When Justin Baldoni went on the press tour, he talked seriously about the trauma of and worked with actual domestic charity to try and help real survivors. He took the material seriously because it deserved to be taken seriously. But Blake, she treated the whole movie like it was a fun summer comedy. She told fans to, quote, grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to see it. Like this was some kind of beach read or a lighthearted date movie, instead of a story about a woman escaping a messy relationship. She used interviews to sell her new shampoo and hair care line. She heavily promoted her alcohol company, which absolutely outraged fans who pointed out that alcohol is literally a major trigger for what's happening inside the movie. You're promoting an alcoholic beverage while talking about a movie where a woman gets shamed by her husband? That's a really bad look. Matter of fact, at the movie's premiere party, she named a cocktail the Ryle You Wait. For those who haven't seen the movie, Ryle is the name of the husband in the story who mistreats the main character throughout the entire film. She named a drink and treated it like a cute joke for a party celebrating a movie about serious wrongdoing. At this point, Justin Baldoni's lawyers are going to show the jury that they absolutely did not need to pay $75,000 for fake Reddit accounts to make people mad at Blake Lively. She made the entire world mad at her, all by herself, by trying to sell shampoo and booze on the back of a movie about battered women and treating the whole thing like one big party. The fans didn't need to be manipulated into disliking her. They just watched what she did and decided they didn't want anything to do with someone who would act that way. So everything is now aimed directly at May 18th, 2026 in Manhattan, and both sides are loading up with heavy ammunition for this thing. The witness list has basically turned into a war zone all by itself because both teams are fighting over who gets to testify and who gets blocked from taking the stand. Blake Lively is demanding that multiple famous people should testify, starting with her own husband, Ryan Reynolds. She wants him to testify about how much money they lost and how absolutely devastated she was throughout the entire controversy. Like, imagine being a jury member and having to sit there while Ryan Reynolds explains how sad his wife was. That's definitely going to be a moment. She also wants to bring in actress Jenny Slate, who previously gave a statement calling Justin Baldoni the biggest clown and the most intense person she ever worked with. That's a pretty bold statement from someone who's been in the industry, and Blake Lively's team is definitely going to try to use that, paint Justin Baldoni as some kind of worst director. And probably the most interesting name on her list is Colleen Hoover, who's the author of the book that the movie was based on. Blake Lively is demanding that Colleen testify to back up her story about what happened on set. But Justin Baldoni's lawyers are fighting back hard on all of these witness requests. They've filed motions specifically trying to ban Colleen Hoover from testifying at the trial entirely. And honestly, their argument makes a lot of sense. They're pointing out that an author who sits at home writing books has absolutely zero clue what actually happened on a physical movie set during production. She wrote a story, sold the rights, and moved on to her next book. She wasn't there. She didn't see any of the fights, or the screaming, or the tantrums, or any of it. So what exactly is she going to testify about? Beyond that, Justin Baldoni's legal team is also pushing what's called the goose and gander legal strategy. This basically means that if she is going to be allowed to bring up certain topics and call certain witnesses, then Justin absolutely has to be allowed to counter with equal force. He can't be forced to sit there and take punches without being allowed to punch back. Now, here's the thing that's really going to hurt Blake Lively when May 18th rolls around. She has one absolutely enormous problem heading into this trial, and it's that she has almost no proof of the alleged smear campaign that forms the entire foundation of her $161 million lawsuit. Her lawyers have been claiming that Baldoni's PR team used an app called Signal to plan all their attacks on her. Signal is this encrypted messaging app that a lot of people use for privacy because it has an auto-delete feature where messages basically erase themselves forever after a certain amount of time. Blake Lively's team went to the judge crying about this, saying it creates something called an evidentiary gap. That's legal speak for saying the proof they really need is basically gone because the messages deleted themselves. They tried to use this as an excuse, basically saying, hey, we can't prove our case because they deleted all the evidence using this app. But here's the problem with that argument. In a court of law, you cannot walk into a courtroom and ask a jury for $161 million just because you think someone deleted some text messages. You actually have to prove your case with real evidence. You can't just say, well, they probably did something bad, but we can't prove it, so please give us $161 million anyway. That's not how any of this works. And honestly, things have already been going very badly for her for a while now. With no Signal messages to back up her claim, no other claims left after the judge threw them out, and Sony executives calling her out, Blake Lively is walking into that Manhattan courthouse with an incredibly weak hand. May 18th is coming fast. There's no doubt that both sides are preparing for the fight of their lives, and the evidence that's about to come out in that courtroom is going to be absolutely devastating for one of them. And let me tell you, based on everything I've seen so far, I don't think it's going to be in the favor for the person who's been crying the loudest about being wrong. What do you guys think? Do y'all believe Blake Lively is actually a victim here? Or do you think the evidence we've seen so far points to something completely different? And honestly, if you were on that jury, would knowing someone is worth $400 million make it harder for you to feel sympathy for them claiming they were wrong? Drop your thoughts in the comments and make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any updates on this trial, because I guarantee there's going to be more drama coming before May 18th.